Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Mears. I'm the Marion County prosecutor, and I appreciate everybody coming out here today. It's obviously been an incredibly difficult week. I know it's been a very difficult week for our law enforcement partners. It's been a difficult week for us at the prosecutor's office. And what we're about to announce today is the culmination of everybody working incredibly hard during some very difficult times. We would not be standing here if it wasn't for the work of our friends in law enforcement. I want to thank Deputy Chief Roney. I want to thank Deputy Chief White, who's head of investigations. I want to thank Sheriff Forstall for his incredible leadership during a very trying time. I want to thank Chief Bailey, Deputy Chief Adams, as well as Detective Craig Hill. Everybody's been working around the clock to put us in a position to make today's announcement possible. I also want to thank Deputy Prosecutors Matt Bavender, Jana Skelton, Ann Frangus, and Dan Cicchini for all their assistance and help in putting us in a position to make today's announcement. And today is a very difficult announcement and one that nobody takes lightly, but given the circumstances, in particular what took place on Monday, we felt that the following course of action was appropriate. The prosecutor's office has formally charged Orlando Mitchell with 2 counts of murder, that is a knowing or intentional murder, as well as a felony murder, 1 count of robbery, and 1 count of escape. In addition to that, the prosecutor's office has also filed a sentencing enhancement, which is commonly referred to as the death penalty. In the death penalty, the prosecutor's office is alleging that there are 4 statutory aggravators that have occurred, which made this particular actions or the actions by the defendant eligible for the death penalty. And those aggravators are as follows. The defendant committed the murder of the deputy at the time. The defendant was in the custody of the Marion County Sheriff, which is 1 statutory aggravator. The second statutory aggravator is the defendant killed a law enforcement officer as they were acting in the course of their duties. The third aggravator is the defendant committed the murder by intentionally killing the officer while he was committing the crime of robbery. And the fourth and final aggravator is the defendant has previously committed a murder at the time that this murder occurred. It's important to note that these are just allegations that are being made against the defendant, but the facts that are outlined in the probable cause affidavit, the evidence that was presented to the Marion County Prosecutor's Office, we felt it was appropriate to not only file the charges of murder, but we have also filed the request of the sentencing enhancement of a death sentence under these circumstances. I'm joined here today by our law enforcement partners at both the Marion County Sheriff's Office as well as IMPD. Again, we're very grateful for all the energy and effort that they put into this case. It was a very quick turnaround. We could not have done it without everybody's cooperation and assistance. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sheriff Forstall.
I'm Kerry Forstall, Marion County Sheriff. First off, thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. And I want to thank Assistant Chief Bailey, who's here today, also representing Chief Randy Taylor. The round-the-clock work they've done in their investigations unit from the second this incident occurred to be able to bring it so quickly from in front of the prosecutors. And the prosecutors who've worked daily, night and day, to have this alleged event occur for where there is the on the books death penalty as an option. It needs to be known that in this community, if you kill a law enforcement officer, you should be willing to sacrifice your life. It's on the books for a reason. People should know that. And they certainly can't do it a second time while they're in custody for another alleged event. I again want to thank everyone from the community who was outreached for the Durm family. It's been fantastic, the outpouring from the community and from support. So I'll let Chief Bailey have this. Thank you.
First of all, on behalf of Chief Randy Taylor and the women and men of the IMPD Sheriff, we send our condolences to you, your deputies, but especially to Deputy Durham's family and friends and the colleagues who will miss and who love him dearly. The person who has alleged these events, and as you will read in this probable cause, the facts about these alleged events. This was a brutal and evil attack. There is no doubt about it. And not his first one. He killed Crystal Walton. He attacked 2 IMPD officers with a rifle. He has no business, if convicted, to ever step foot out of a jail cell again. And our commitment to you, Mr. Prosecutor, is that the IMPD will do everything that we can to assist you and your deputies to make sure that we get a conviction in all 3 of these incidents. I too want to thank all those who have touched this investigation to bring us to this point. This is the beginning. There's a lot of more work to do, and we're committed to doing that work. Inscribed on one of the parts of the National Law Enforcement Memorial is the following quote by a survivor. "It's not how these officers died that made them heroes. It's how they lived." Deputy Durham lived a life of meaning, and we will never forget him.
Thank you, Chief. Is there any questions?
Mr. Sheriff, the attack was caught on camera. Is it standard policy for those cameras to be watched live in real time? Secondly, he was transporting this murder suspect alone. Is it standard policy to have only one deputy transport? And will you reevaluate your policies after this?
In the first question, yes. And the second, we don't want somebody leaving the jail charged with murder with only one deputy. Is there times that we do more with less staff than we do and people make tough decisions? Yeah, probably. We've reviewed it now. Anytime we may make an error, we'll review it and make changes. But that's being investigated this time by our internal affairs to see what we could have done better.
What are your thoughts on that tough decision that you just called?
I'm sorry?
What do you say that you have to make tough decisions sometimes? So as you go back over, what are your thoughts on that tough decision that had to be made?
People make judgments all day long on which is less safe. Do I put somebody one place or another to be sure I have everything covered? We have 180 plus people in there charged with murder. We definitely do not have sufficient deputies. That should be nothing new than be able to maintain what level we would like to have. But I think the more important thing is here is to point back to realize why we're here. Here's a deputy who's been in the job, knows what he's doing, done the job for that's almost his specialty for 38 years. And in a brief second, this alleged killer turned on him and on video executed him. So we pointed out to our people all the time, and I'm sure other people have learning experiences from other agencies, how quickly that can happen. So you have to constantly be aware that Sheriff Anderson always said they're sitting around 24 hours, 365, fighting a way to beat us. And this shows an example of what this man has done.
For Bailey, I guess, or somebody with the investigation, do we know how he was able to get his hands free from the belly chain or loosen from the belly chain?
Well, I mean, the facts we know are within the probable cause affidavit. I think that other than that we'd be speculating on that. I mean, he knows how he did it, and part of that will be probably part of the internal review that the sheriff's office does during their review of everything. But he did not give a statement, so I mean, he didn't explain to us exactly what he did or didn't do. So I can't answer that specifically.
Prosecutor Mears, you mentioned 4 criteria for calling for the death penalty, including one that says he committed a murder already. In the murder of Crystal Walton, does that have to be proven first before to move forward?
No. So the way it would work is if we were able to gain a murder conviction in the underlying case involving the deputy, we would then move to the second phase of trial, and we would present evidence related to his guilt as it related to Crystal Walton's case. So it does not require a conviction in order to move forward we would be free to do that at the actual sentencing phase if we were able to secure a murder conviction against him for the deputy's murder.
Seeking death penalty, obviously, have a lot of time and process to go into the trial. Did you talk to your family about this? Were they on board?
Certainly, anytime you decide to file the death penalty, you know that it's going to have a dramatic impact on the procedural posture of the case. And one of the biggest issues is it certainly lengthens or extends the time period in terms of when you're going to be able to see a resolution to that case. I think one of the things that we always want to convey is that this is going to be a lengthy process, but I certainly feel comfortable in the conversations that we've had that there's support for this decision.
So the PC, it mentions that the suspect's handcuffs were connected to his belly chain, but the belly chain was no longer around his waist. Is that some sort of malfunction with the chain, or is that still being looked into?
From the prosecutor's perspective, I don't think we know.
Right.
We're still reviewing things, but as this moment, we believe he was in belly chains properly. And as he came from the vehicle, he had moved part of it, but he was appearing to secrete the way the chains were so the deputy could not see it as he stepped out of the van. So within just those moments, he was able to use that as a weapon to kill our deputy.
He was taken to Eskenazi for an appointment. What was he being seen?
It was an orthopedic follow-up from, I believe it may have been from one of his violent incidents he had on the street before he came in.
Is the deputy in charge at Eskenazi, are there multiple deputies that make sure that they're handcuffed properly, or is it one person? Walk us through.
The deputies that we have out there are not assigned permanently out there. They're out there if we have to guard a prisoner that's in our custody. So when you're taking a prisoner out there, you're responsible for that prisoner, but the other deputies who may be there, and that day there were actually a couple that were had other prisoners out there, are able to support you while you're there.